I might call upon you. Is there anybody here who does not want to be on video if it happens to float on you? Raise your hand now, please. Okay. So did you get that, Chris? Okay. All right. My name is Sandra Musselwhite. This is the meeting of the Virginia Beach Real Estate Investment Group. And we're going to be talking about tax sales. This is the state of Virginia. We are a deed of trust state. Does everybody know that? Okay. Some states are mortgage states. We are not a mortgage state. You may have seen advertisements along the way for tax liens where you can make 18%, 20%, 24% on your money. This is not that state. Is everybody clear? Do not buy that book because it doesn't even refer, except for maybe a couple of paragraphs, about deed of trust states. You're totally wasting your money. There was a meetup group meeting a while back, maybe last month, about buying tax liens, and it was sponsored by a group here in Virginia. Did anybody go to that meeting? I think it was online. Well, waste of time. Unless you're going to go in another state, you cannot buy tax liens here in the state of Virginia, to the best of my knowledge. Unless it's something new. I was at the library just to be sure. There are no books at the library on buying properties at tax sales. Even at the law library. Did you know that? I was amazed. How are you supposed to find out this stuff? Do you have any books on it?
No, just kind of stumble your way through.
You stumble your way through. I can't remember where I found out about it, but somehow or the other I did. It's similar to buying property at foreclosures. Has anybody bought a property at foreclosure here besides me? You? Okay. Sometimes they will advertise them in the newspaper in the foreclosure section. But normally I get mine, they come to my email. How do you get yours?
It was through a friend of a friend.
Just a friend told you about it. Okay. There are a couple of services you can go to get them emailed to you. And I'll go into that later because it's probably too early for you to even want to know about it right now. When you don't pay your taxes for a period of generally 3 years in most jurisdictions, they will sell your property. They being the city, the state, the federal governments. Tax liens take precedence over everything else, including your mortgage. Was that clear? And sometimes that even includes your homeowner fees. If you have a condo or a townhouse and you don't pay the homeowner fees or condo fees, they can sell your property. Did you know that? If they tell you got to paint your house a certain color and you don't like that, you don't pay your condo fees, they can sell your property at an auction. So, it may not make too much sense to stomp your feet and say, I'm not going to do it. Because you might lose your house over it.
Can you explain a deed of trust state? I don't totally know what that is.
I'm not allowed by law to give legal advice. So, I'll just glance over it, okay? Just basically, it's an extra layer of protection for the buyer of the property. In a mortgage state, it's just the guy who holds the mortgage and the buyer. And if the mortgage person decides they don't like the color of your hair, they can foreclose on you. Whereas in a deed of trust state, there's a third person in the middle. So they have to go to that person and say, hey, they didn't make their payments, so we're going to call the note due. And then they have to go through a process to actually call that note due. So that's a simplistic way of saying it. It's more complicated than that, but to explain it in more detail, I have to go into legalese, and I'm not allowed to do that.
Got it. That's
Is that
good.
clear?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so in every jurisdiction, taxes are generally due in May and November. There are some exceptions, but twice a year taxes are due. And again, it's normally 3 years. If you don't pay your taxes and homeowner fees, et cetera, you're going to lose your house. I did a research in MLS to see if there were any obvious notices in MLS, and only one house came up where taxes were not paid. Only one house in Hampton Roads. So they're not advertised in MLS. So again, going back, you could go online to the different jurisdictions, probably find them that way. For a while, Danville was a very depressed area. Danville, Virginia, it's no more. But they actually had a list of properties that were available for tax sales. Very, very long list, and they were practically begging you to buy them. So if you went through all the different jurisdictions in an area, you might find some real deals.
So when you go to the jurisdiction, how do you find them specifically?
Go to the treasurer or the city assessor's office. And they were selling them like 10 cents on the dollar. Of course, who wants to go to Danville? Of course, now they have an Amazon, I think it's Amazon warehouse, and they also have a casino there. But it's 5 or 6 hours away. If you're from an area and you know the area, that might be a good deal, a good thing to do. If you're not, it may not be a good thing to do. Only you know where you're from and what works for you and what doesn't. There's a lot of competition in some areas, like, for instance, Virginia Beach. But there's other areas where there's not. And that would be dependent upon you to figure out where that is. There have been properties sold as low as 30 cents on the dollar. Some of them are done online, some of them are done in person, the sales. They're generally held in person at a courthouse, just like a foreclosure, or in a, depending on the size of the jurisdiction, a stadium. They even have had them held at the houses, just like a foreclosure. I mean, basically it's a foreclosure sale. What you need to know, most important of all, is that an IRS lien takes precedence over any other lien. If I'm a city and I'm filing a tax sale notice, and you go to that sale and you buy that house at the tax sale, and you think, oh gee, what a great deal I got, you may not have got a good deal, because those people might owe IRS. And IRS is gonna come along and say, hey guy, you owe me money, because a tax lien attaches to the house, not to the person who owes the money. It attaches to the house.
So wait, does the sale price not pay off the tax lien? I thought that was what the sale was for, was to pay the taxes.
Pays the tax lien to the city,
Okay,
not to the IRS.
okay.
You own the house, you owe the IRS. Is that clear?
Yep, sir. Yep.
So are you saying that if I purchase a house from a tax lien, that the IRS can come at the new owner, me as the new owner?
That's right.
So how would the title insurance come into play with that?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe that person didn't get title insurance. Because, hey, I want to save that money. Or I didn't know I should get it. That's what we're going to talk. That's why we're having this discussion here. I didn't want to spend that $400 for.
Right.
to even get a title search, let alone title insurance. Title insurance is not going to be issued if there's an IRS lien, do you think? Mm-mm. That's exactly the whole point. If you don't do a title search, you're not going to know there's an IRS lien on that property. You're going to think, oh boy, I got this property for 30 cents on the dollar. Aren't I a good bargain hunter? Aren't I a smart investor? How smart are you if you got an IRS lien on a property that you bought for 50 cents on the dollar? That IRS lien is more than the property is worth, which could happen.
So how does the property get cleared closed if the liens are not paid off? No, but you have to get a title, search, right? I didn't know that was optional.
It's not a clear title.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you're saying that, if I understand you correctly, that I purchased a house, I don't know there's a lien, an IRS lien on it, then the IRS can come after me. I'm trying to understand, how does that even happen if there's a lien on the property?
It's not a general warranty deed. It's never a general warranty deed.
Gotcha, okay.
You understand the difference?
Yes.
I don't. Can
I
you go?
don't. I do not. Can you explain it?
A general warranty deed?
Yes.
A general warranty deed means there's nothing underneath. There's no liens underneath. General warranty deed goes back 60 years. Okay, there are other types of deeds. There's a quit claim deed. That's the simplest one, and then there's a simple deed.
Okay.
In order for you to get a general warranty deed, you've got to resell that property. Then you'll get a free and clear of all liens. It's like when you buy a property from the VA. The VA owned property, you don't get a general warranty deed until you resell it. Is everybody clear on that?
So you mentioned IRS liens supersede anything else.
Absolutely.
Is there any other liens, mechanics liens and stuff, that if you bought a property at tax
Everything's
sale-
wiped out except for the IRS liens.
I thought so.
Wipes out the mortgage too. Generally speaking, if there's a mortgage on the property, the mortgage holder will come in and pay the taxes because they don't want to be wiped out. You will not get a property, generally speaking, I've never seen it happen, you won't get a property at a tax sale that has a mortgage on it because a mortgage will come in, and you know this, you're in the mortgage business, a mortgage holder will come in and pay the taxes. They don't want to lose their interest in the property. Most property, and that's a really good point, most properties that go to tax sales don't have any mortgages on them. They're free and clear. It'll be somebody who has paid off their mortgage, it was an estate, generally speaking, a probate property, or an elderly person who paid their mortgage off, or whatever, a piece of land, never had a mortgage on it. It's not usually a brand new property. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm on like auctions.com, and so they send me a list of all the foreclosures and what's going up for auctions. And it shows just some pictures of the outside, tells you whether it's occupied or vacant. And then as you get closer, it'll say what the opening bid is and stuff like that, and then what the estimated resale value is. But if I'm interested in looking at one of those, I think somebody said it's like $400 to do a title search.
I'm estimating, could be
okay.
more, could be less.
So before I go and bid on this house, would it be in my best interest to spend the $400 on the title search? But then what if I don't get the property and somebody bids me
It's the
up?
cost of doing business.
Okay. Okay.
But tax sales are generally not gonna be on auctions.com. It's a totally different scenario.
Oh, okay, good gouge.
Yeah, I'm no expert, believe me, but the way we did it is, you know, the county would put out, you know, maybe 100 properties. And then me and my buddy, we'd drive around and say, of these 100, most of them are trash, right? Of these 100, we're interested in maybe 15. And then we would do a title search on those 15, you know, it's cost of doing business. You know, you do a lot with an attorney or whatever, and hopefully they give you a break. And then you whittle that list of 15 down to, because you find IRS lien, you find all sorts of crazy that you want to stay away from. You whittle that down to maybe like 8 or so, and then you go to the auction and you're ready to go and put offers on those. So it's, you start with a lot, you get down to just a little that is really worthwhile.
Yeah. I mean, you don't do it on every single one of them.
Yeah.
You have to decide what are you interested in.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I want to talk to you, it's not something I would suggest, but you can go down to the city and do your own title search. However, you may miss something.
You gotta know what you're looking for.
You have to know what you're looking for, but you can do it yourself. You can do it yourself, but I wouldn't trust it.
But there's not
A fool and his money are soon parted. That's all I got to say to that. Fool and his money are soon parted. IRS liens are nothing to sneeze at, really. I mean, I wouldn't do it myself,
Right.
and I know how to do it. I would not do it myself.
Now, I had a business partner that said the IRS doesn't come after you all the time, maybe like 50% of the time. I don't know what your experience is, but
I've had IRS come after me, and
yeah.
I went across the desk for his throat. He said, "We don't like her driving a Mercedes." He's lucky to be alive. If my attorney hadn't been there to hold on to me, he would be dead. So that's been my experience with the IRS. You wanted to know? That's the truth. Of course, I lived inside the Beltway. They didn't have to go anywhere to get me. They wanted to use an example, here I am. I was younger and friskier and stupider. I don't know. But they may not come after you here, but they came after me there. Fortunately, I had a attorney from Georgetown University who taught most of them, or I'd probably be in jail. I wouldn't mess with him, but that's another story. All like stories, let's leave it alone. I just wouldn't mess with IRS. You're either in business or you're not. There's a lot of money to be made, but there's also a lot of money to be lost. I had a gentleman that I think I put it in the announcement for this meeting about, he was told that buying property at tax sales was for the big boys. You want to make big money? It takes money to make money. And if you're going to be cheesy about it, if you're going to, the nickels and the dimes, you don't make the dollars. I don't think you should risk anything you can't afford to lose. But you also shouldn't be, there's a reason why people buy insurance. And I think title, paying for title search on a property you're going to bid on is worth every dime that you spend. And there are, if you're going to do it on a regular basis, you should be getting a discount. The people are there anyway. It doesn't cost them that much to just take a quick peek and make sure there's no liens on that property. But anyway, okay, so that's crucial, is my point. It's crucial to have that title search. And you're going to pay cash. You might be able to get a loan afterwards, but I would never, ever depend upon getting a loan on a property that you bid on. Because at the very least, you're going to lose your deposit. And
Also, for most of these properties, you can't see it beforehand, right? You can just look around the outside, but you can't go in them.
I've never had a problem getting into a property, but I'm a real estate broker.
Okay. Because our experience was many times you cannot get in. You can kind of push the door in sometimes. but sometimes,
Training.
yeah.
When I first started in real estate, I took a rock and broke the door open. And the broker I worked for got a big complaint. But he said, well, I'll pay for the door. That's her job, to get in the house. My job is to get in the house. I'm a real estate broker.
I guess that's my point. Sometimes you bend the rules, but sometimes it's a surprise.
I'm a real estate broker. My job's to get in the house.
Okay.
You normally can see inside a house. You know, you climb up on something, or well, you might not have to. You're tall. I'm not. What do you need to see? I mean, if you're buying a house at 30 to 50%, 60% of value, you know you've got to do something to it. Generally speaking, I mean, it's not going to be spick and span inside.
Yeah.
It's going to be work to be done. So much for the kitchen, so much for the bathrooms. I mean, this is not Better Homes and Gardens, folks. It's real estate investment. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's a dirty business.
Oh, no, I'm with you.
But you know, this gentleman over here is in the foundation business, right? There's certain things you look for to see if the foundation is sound, and the roof, and most of that you can see from the outside. And the inside, take a ladder with you. Get in the windows. I mean, I don't think it's trespassing of a vacant house to look in the windows. I know. Again, I've never had a problem getting in a house. And I bought houses at foreclosure that, you know, people say, how'd you get in the house? Oh, I couldn't get in the house. I turned the knob. There's usually a door open. Do you have problems getting in houses, Chris? No. Somehow or the other, turn the knob. Lift the window. Anybody else ever get in houses? Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know why, but it just seems to always happen. I just try and I get in.
Worst case scenario, you're a contractor. Somebody
Right.
send you know, something.
I mean, I'm not saying I get in every house, but more times than not, I get in the house. And I've never had anybody stop me, except that one time, early on. And my broker stood up for me. I broke the door, I got in the house, and I sold the house, and they still complained about it. I don't know what's wrong with people, but you know. Anyway, carrying on. Okay, so I think I made the point about the IRS lien. That's the most important thing. That is really crucial. I made the point about the title search, which is kind of the same thing as the IRS lien is the most important thing. They're not going to give you financing. You've got to have your financing in place. It's just like a foreclosure. You're going to lose your deposit if you don't have your financing in place. Some lenders will work with you, some won't. So if you've got a good relationship with a lender, they might even have the money up front when you go to bid. It's a touchy situation. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
What's your typical strategy? So you acquire the property, is it typically buy and hold, flip it to a wholesale?
Well, I prefer to hold so I'm not in a capital gain situation
Okay.
for a minimum of a year. I'm a long-term holder anyway. And I like to refinance out if I'm using hard money. I work with a group of people to buy, pay cash, refinance out. I actually have a couple of groups because I've got one group that likes to get out, another group that doesn't mind holding for a few years. I just don't like to pay a lot of taxes. I don't see any point in that.
So you fix it up? Or you
Normally, yeah, normally. And then I like group rentals because they make more money and they like to stay.
You say you like what?
Group rentals,
Group rentals.
yeah. And they like to stay. So
What's that? What's a group rental?
that's another topic. I think we're about to run out of time here. So, and we have covered that. We will cover it again as we get into the next year. But I want to tell you how you can get notice of these taxes. Okay, there's tax sales. The Virginia Auction Company, which is local, will notify you. All you have to do is call them and get on their list.
Which one?
Virginia Auction Company. It's a local company. And they're probably online too. They send me this stuff all the time, so I imagine they are. Now, one thing I didn't mention was that they have judicial and non-judicial auctions. The non-judicial auctions are generally unimproved lots, and normally are between $10,000 and $25,000. They don't have to be approved by the court. Improved properties are normally over that amount, and they do have to be approved by the court, which is generally speaking just a stamp of approval type thing. Now this other resource is called the Taxing Authority Consulting Services, Inc., TACS. You can find that online. And I paid like $15. Seems like it was 3 years ago, but I thought it was per year, but I haven't paid them any money since, and I'm still getting notices of tax sales all over the state.
Taxing authority.
I'll write it down. TACS. Are there any questions about anything we've covered so far?
Do you do the same way that he was saying? Like you get the list and then you discard the ones that you're not interested in, and then the ones that you are, you can focus on those?
Yes.
Same strategy like this.
That's because some of them are 5, 6, 7, 8 hours away at the sites. Yeah. Unless I know somebody that's from that area, I just delete them. If I know somebody that's from that area, I just forward them on to them.
Do you have kind of a sweet spot in terms of price or area?
Well, I don't go after anything that's $1 million, you know. Depends upon the people I'm in a group with. My group changes from time to time. Like I have a woman who just retired, and she's got $400,000 in her retirement account. And we invest together, so we try to keep it around 280. but normally lower prices. Okay, now here's a little twist. If you want to find these before they go to the tax sale, you can go online to the tax assessor's office, and it shows the people who haven't paid their taxes. Did you know that? Of course, everybody's in denial. But for you real estate agents in here, if you're looking for a listing, how motivated do they need to be?
Yeah, that's really smart, right? All you need is time to do that. Just pick a neighborhood that you want, and then just go through the houses. Well, that is really clever, yeah.
Yeah, pick a neighborhood you want to be. They haven't paid their taxes. Obviously, they're motivated.
Mhm.
Maybe they have an assumable loan and get subject to. And if you don't know how to use it, there's public servants who are supposed to teach you how to use it. People still work in person downtown. Some of them are starved for real people to talk to. And here's another little kernel to hold on to. After about a year, because they don't like you to do it before that, you can actually approach these people who have been I don't know what the proper way to put this with, who've had their properties sold. If their property is sold for more than what their taxes were, and there's a surplus, you know about this?
I do, yeah, I watched a webinar on it about a year ago. Never done it.
It's called an overage. Those people are owed that money. How do you like that? How do you like the fact those people are owed that money and nobody tells them? There's actually a business where they teach people how to go in and make money off of telling those people that they're owed money and they get a percentage of it. You people are looking for a way to get money, there's a business doing that.
What's that called again?
It's an overage.
Overage?
Can you explain that overage again? I haven't quite followed it.
Well, it's the same with foreclosures too, but when people's property is sold at auction for unpaid taxes or foreclosure, they're owed the difference between what it sells for and what the city gets. That's their money. And if they don't claim it, the city keeps it. How unfair is that? I think just out of the goodness of your heart, you ought to tell them. But that's just me because I've got a soft spot. But people make money doing that. The only reason I don't do it is because people would just think, oh no, it's a scam. Or I'm too lazy to hire people to do it, I'm not sure which. But I just think that's horrible. I mean, if I lost my house at foreclosure and somebody made money off of it, that's one thing. But for the city to make money off of it and not tell me that it's my money, and I'm out here trying to support my kids because I lost my job, and the city's got my money and won't even tell me? If you know anybody that's lost their house at a foreclosure or a tax sale, and it hasn't been a terribly long time, tell them. Go get your money.
How long do they have in order to go get their money?
Years. It depends by the jurisdiction. Years. Anyway, let's not go into a downer here, but. Any questions? Thank you for taping that. Appreciate it. Let's restore their board back to the way it was.